Yeah, I saw I saw Alina commented and was like, "Yeah, hey, it's cute. You guys have the same glasses."
I saw that. I blocked her too.
Tasha
She,
also said you copied off of her glasses because
I
she
off
copied
her
off of
glasses.
me. So
I
now
have
she's
no way of
saying you
knowing what
copied
her
off of
glasses
her.
look like. I haven't seen Tasha in 6 years.
Uh, okay.
I have no idea what shape glasses she has. This is all me. I don't know why y'all can't believe I
I
got
mean,
my own style.
I believe it. I'm not saying that it's not you. I'm just saying
The only time I copied somebody's
subconsciously.
style was when at OU when I started noticing Harvey and Andrew Fowler was wearing skinnier jeans. So then I was like, let me taper my jeans off a little bit. They was a little baggy. That's the only time I've like copied style.
Wait,
I'll
was
admit.
Andrew
Andrew was on
wearing?
the taper look, the pants and jeans look
I
early.
mean,
Like
but were they like really tight back then?
no, not tight, but it was still like slimmer, slim fit. Like
Okay,
still like
I was
he was
about to say
he had long moved on.
Harvey
Yeah.
was on nut huggers. Like since
I
our
didn't go
freshman
quite to
year.
Harvey level, but I definitely got a little slimmer gene going. I didn't
Yeah,
go
I've
quite to
noticed,
that.
but I didn't know if that was because you like got thicker thighs, or I shouldn't say it that way.
Yeah,
Um,
why you saying it like that?
if if
Like I'm
if
a
it's
video
because
vixen out here getting BBLs. Don't do that to me.
if it's because I mean we know you got a BBL. It's obvious.
No, it's
Um,
not. No, I didn't. No, I
uh,
didn't.
okay,
No, I didn't.
yeah. I mean, sure. I didn't know we weren't talking about that on air, but I
It's
I didn't know
nothing to
you
talk
weren't proud
about.
of that. I thought that was
It's
something that
nothing
you
to
were
talk
proud of.
about.
Like you're not
It's
doing it for women. You did it for you.
Are you
You want
recording
to
the
feel
Skype by
better
the
about
way?
yourself.
You gotta record the Skype by the way.
Dang, how you just gonna cut me off?
Because you be irresponsible. Nah, man. I would never do something like that, man. I would never.
Don't say never. Only never I say is you never know.
Like BBLs is just common. You can get them for like $20 in
Hey,
like 10 years or something. They just that common. You can just get them real quick. They cheap. Yeah, who knows?
I
Maybe.
mean, I wouldn't say it would be like that in the U.S. That's you just immediately pissed me off.
Why?
Just with that thought that I'm having now, because it's like I was gonna say because technology gets better, things should be getting cheaper, but that doesn't happen in the U.S. In the
Mm-mm.
U.S., as technology gets better, things become more expensive,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, but you manufacture these things and make things cheaper now.
No,
So
not
so
here.
where's all this extra money coming from?
It's going into the pockets of the CEOs
Exactly.
and their shareholders.
Exactly. And we keep
Mm-hmm.
seeing like that margin growing between the lowest paid and the highest paid
This
executives.
inf- so speaking of since we're on the subject of inflation, like I took a few economics classes in
Bro,
college.
I hope you're about to say what I want you to say. What I've been telling people for years. Keep going.
I don't know, I might be, but I took a bunch of economics classes, and we would learn about what inflation was and like how it works and everything like that.
Hmm.
And I thought the way it was taught was like it was like ways out, like it was like 50 years out. I thought inflation, my grandkids would be dealing with inflation. I'd be like, oh, tough luck,
Mm.
and I'd be talking like a boomer to be talking now. If you just work hard, like I did, and work 5 jobs in college, you can make it too. I thought I would be giving that speech to my grandkids, but we're currently dealing with the inflation.
So
Uh
you mean like you learned that inflation was something that was kind of generational, like you wouldn't see it in
yeah,
your lifetime?
not that I wouldn't see it, but it'd be like later on in life, like down the line,
Oh,
like kind of maybe in
okay.
my 50s, 60s, like it happens like that, or something happens very catastrophic, which I guess that's what the pandemic was. Something crazy happens that triggers inflation. That's like the only two, like I guess, scenarios that I was like taught could possibly happen. I guess the pandemic would count as that, but I still didn't think. Obviously, nobody ever saw this pandemic coming. Well, they kind of did, but we didn't weren't paying attention.
Bill
But
Gates did.
You said because he planned it. Don't. They gonna flag this now. Wait, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. They gonna flag this video, but of course he
Oh, shit.
planned it or no knew was coming. I should say. Um, but yeah, what were you gonna say about inflation? Was that the thought you had, or what were you gonna say?
No, that is not the thought I had. But I do have another thought on that. But the thought that I had is I don't really believe inflation is a real thing.
Mm,
I think inflation is capitalist driven, or
mm,
it's like greed driven. Like,
mm.
um, because like the cost of living just steadily keeps going up because like our products keep going up.
Right.
Um, and our product's price is better for our GDP and like the global economy, whatever. Um, but like I was just saying, technology is supposed to make things more efficient and easier to make. But
Mm.
yet, like that is the case and that is true, but yet prices keep going up. But like it's being easier manufactured, like it's cheaper to manufacture these things for these companies, but yet prices keep going up. And nobody is seeing that adjustment in price besides
The
the
consumer.
the consumer and like the C class of people. So like your CFOs, CEOs, all those people, um, and their shareholders, like you said, because companies run like an autocracy, so they just like keep these upper people happy. And they don't really care what happens to everybody else because they're not buying that stuff anyway. Like we don't care how much this Dodge costs because I'm getting a Bugatti. Like, who cares?
True, true. That's true. That I saw a video of the TNT crew talking about the cost of gas, and it's like somebody made the point on Twitter that like rich people don't really know the cost of stuff. They're so detached from like everyday experiences of like regular people because they're so rich. Like if gas was
Hmm.
$15 to them, it would be of no consequence really to them because
Yeah.
they're straight. So yeah, I think yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. And I actually like that we kind of see that aspect of it with some of our celebrities, like the people that had nothing and like pulled themselves up by their bootstraps,
Quote
uh,
unquote.
quote unquote. But like we see that with a lot of rappers. Is
Oh,
mainly
word.
who I'm talking about because they didn't have much growing up and they talk about that and then they get on and then if they're like really smart business minded like Jay-Z or Kanye West, like they've been rich for so long now they don't know how to relate anymore. So a lot of people that I
Yeah.
hear that like still love Jay-Z but they still will talk about now like I don't really know what he's talking about anymore.
Yeah, he talking
Like,
way over people's heads. He talking like, yeah. He
but
talking
they'll still be like, yeah, he dropping game, he dropping out like some
if
songs,
it's
the stuff
game,
that
why
we
can't you apply it
understand.
to your life if it's such
Well,
game?
that's what I'm saying. The stuff that we understand, like
Yeah.
buying art, even though we still don't really understand that, that's still like a concept we can grasp
Right.
somewhat.
Yeah. Because it may appreciate, but who can afford art of that caliber that's going to appreciate?
Right? Nobody, or like not
I'm
most of the
hoping this
listeners.
Tyler Stallings piece I got upstairs will do some numbers in a few years.
But yo, hopefully, like that's
I wouldn't sell it though, but still, it'd be nice, you know. But yeah, that's real though. That's real. But yeah, welcome back everybody to the podcast with no name. Hey,
a
it's V baby here.
twisted up real tight with my
Okay, you gonna get a shot
yo.
playing around
I would be standing up crip walking right now if I could and still be on camera. I've been practicing my crip walking for
after Snoop, cause of Snoop.
no, I didn't like his crip walking. It wasn't good enough.
Oh, it wasn't enough twisting of
That I mean that whole the whole performance, even like the dancers, they were crip walking like they played it very safe because they're
yeah,
not crips. And they were
yeah.
doing like the stuff that we learned in elementary school of what crip walking is. I was like,
You
what?
gotta introduce yourself, by the way. By the way, to the
Oh
people.
yeah, I'm Kyle Walker. Dang, I wasn't supposed to put that. I'm cutting my last name out. I'm Kyle.
It's too late. It's too late,
Slim,
bro.
Slim Mahogany. That one's for the ladies. You already know what it is.
Please stop. You are a married man. You are a married man. You a faithful black man. You giving us a bad rap. Giving us
That
a
don't
real
mean I'm
bad.
not the lady's choice.
I told
Gotta
you
lick the lips on them.
I'm the sex symbol of this podcast. That's just what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, when you holding a box of Teddy Grahams.
Still nonetheless, still the sex. People like, ooh, I've
Crumbs
never
dripping.
never wanted Teddy Grahams more in my life than now. That's
Mhm.
what the ladies be thinking or saying,
Mhm.
But heavy as the
V-Bear.
head.
V-Bear.
Please stop. Please
Can't be a
stop.
sex symbol if your nickname in college was V-Bear.
That really is like,
And
I really
everybody
could
called
be.
you that.
I really could. Everybody didn't call. Stop spreading lies. This is fake news. And honestly, in hindsight, I should have started going around calling myself V-Bear. That would have really because I already at that time was trying to be a pretty boy, trying to be smooth at the
Were
time.
you?
I really was on the low. In my head, I was like I was like the smoothest nigga. I was really trying to be cool and smooth and just like suave.
That's so funny.
So V-Bear
I
should
mean,
I should have
I I definitely saw that when you would interact with women.
hold on, I've
But
been wanting you to do my laugh on this podcast, and I do the laugh. Hold on, Kyle says I have a specific laugh I had when I was talking to girls that I liked. So can you do the laugh for the people?
Yeah, girl. It's funny. But he would always talk with it though. Like it wasn't. I'm not making that part up. He would always talk with it. Like it was like Spice Adams before I knew he existed.
Spice stole my flow. If we gonna keep it real, Spice got that from me.
Right, true. And you always had toothpicks. Like
Always had a toothpick. I was a pioneer over here. Pioneer. That's why these allegations of me, copying y'all style with the glasses is like blasphemous. Really, it's crazy, preposterous.
speaking of that, I cannot stand old heads.
You around a lot in Detroit too, so
Speaking of Spice Adams, also from Detroit, friend of the podcast. Shout out to him.
oh, I forgot he from Detroit. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I can't stand him. So
What?
today at work, this song is on, and this old dude in his 50s, he's just like rapping the song. And I had not heard that song before at all. So I asked him, "Who is this?" And he was like, "Ha, you better ask somebody." And I'm like, "I did. I literally just did." And so I asked him again, like, "Who is it?" And he just wouldn't answer me. He just
You don't know nothing about this young blood. See, that's the problem now. Just start lecturing you about your whole life. That's the
But
problem now.
the fact that he said
You
you
don't
better
know
ask somebody,
nothing.
I
You
thought
don't know.
I did ask somebody.
You better go ask your daddy what this is.
But he too old. My dad don't know this stuff. My ears are so hot. I've been trying to itch it, but I keep forgetting. Ooh.
So it was like something older, but not old enough for your dad's era. Would you please stop?
Yeah.
This isn't an ASMR channel. Would you?
Moist.
See, speaking of that, I've been meaning to update the audience. So me and Cedric the Entertainer's podcast will be
Yeah, how's that
starting.
going?
It'll be starting soon. So what happened was they rebooting the Steve Harvey show. So he been away filming that for a little bit. So we had to push back our launch date, but it's coming soon. And so I'll be out of y'all here very soon here, because I can't do this.
Cool. That's what's
I
up.
can't do this.
But that is a good segue. Yeah, me and Kat, that ain't gonna work. For
What
various
happened?
reasons.
What happened?
I just
What cat blew up on you already?
I mean, we had like some preliminary stuff. It was just like, it's like a preseason, just a practice run, and he just went off the rails ASAP. Just like I was like,
Just
I can't do
just couldn't
this.
stick to the agenda, huh?
He just couldn't stick to it.
That's crazy. That's
Um,
crazy. Mm.
but yeah, me and Steve Harvey are working on something.
I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that at all.
Because we both are very passionate about empowering Black women through. Why you
What y'all empowering Black women to do?
to flip the script and
Mm.
stop letting themselves be done in by these men and do these men in.
You gonna do these men in, huh? What is that? What does that look like?
It looks like thinking like a man.
That's
That,
original.
that's the whole premise.
Speaking of the ladies, happy International Women's Day to Ashanti, Nia Long, Calandria Rowland, aka
You
Kelly
just
Rowland,
you just calling out specific people.
Melissa Ford,
Melissa Ford. I haven't heard of
Rakaya
her in a long
Johnson,
time.
and that's it.
Oh, be there.
Stop, just move on.
I can't move on from. I'll do it just for you though.
We're
Oh
happy
man.
International Women's Day, everybody.
Oh, that is funny. I've just never heard a shout out for a national month of celebrating somebody, but only shouting out a couple people. Like, I've just never seen that be done.
I just want to personally shout the women that I personally like and know. That's all. I just want to put a personal touch to it, you know?
I feel it. I
Mhm.
feel it.
Yeah, that's all. That's all, baby.
Mm,
Yeah.
ridiculous.
um, we were talking about BBLs earlier, and
Mm-hmm.
I was in the land of BBLs. And back-to-back weekends. I've been in Atlanta back-to-back weekends, bruh. I've been in there more times than I have in the past 10, 15 years for
Mm.
various reasons.
Yeah,
And
I've
I
only
just
been there once.
I just want to say I love Atlanta first of all. I love it. I thought I hated it cuz I had the last time I was there in 2020, I had a terrible experience. Was getting scammed. It was just bad. I was like, this is Atlanta they ain't been talking about. I'm never coming back
How are
here
you
again.
getting scammed?
I got an Airbnb. So like in 2020 I got this Airbnb. And from the off rip, it was just weird. So like I booked the booking was cool. Everything was cool with the booking and me like booking it and everything like that. But when
Yeah.
I got there, like the address was messed up. It wasn't the right address. So I pulled up to this other It's like it was an apartment complex, and I was at the wrong like place. So I called them. I had to call. Like, I had to keep calling these people to figure out where this apartment was, and it wasn't it. They was like, I finally got a hold of them, and they was like, oh, no, it's this address. I'm like, bruh, how you had the wrong address on the Airbnb? Like, I'm paying you much. Like, this ain't like I'm staying with a cousin who just was like, oh, my bad. I like sent you. No, this is like real. This is business right here. So they send me the wrong address, but they send me the right address. And then when they get there, but they add a note. They was like, tell them you such and such his boyfriend. I forget the name they gave me. Like let's just say Candace. Let's say you Candace's boyfriend, something like that. And I was like, I just said all right. So I finally get into I finally pull up and like start walking up to the apartment. And as I walk
Mm-hmm.
up, I noticed the door is like kind of like cracked a little bit. Like I just like I had did I have a key? Or there's a code. The door had one of those locks that had the code on it, but it was
Mm-hmm.
already kind of like, oh, I didn't even have to put the code in. I just pushed the door and it opened.
Yeah.
So I go in there and it just felt like somebody had just left, like just 10 minutes ago. It
That's
felt like
funny.
I could feel somebody's like, oh, I just gotta go. Let me hurry up and
It
tidy
was
up
probably
real.
that person that was texting you. It was just
Probably.
like, oh, he here. Oh,
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting.
So I get there and
Had a
it's just
half-eaten cereal bowl.
it just looked lived in, just like real, just real lived in. And I was just like, oh man, this is weird. The door didn't really like close all the way either. It was a mess. And so I was there visiting somebody and they came by and saw it and they was like, you can't stay here. And I was like, well, all right, I'm gonna figure something else out. So I was like, figure something out. So I like called them up and I was like, yo, like I can't do this. Like, this apartment wasn't clean, like, or
Yeah,
everything, like the space wasn't clean, all this type of stuff. I can't do this. And they kind of gave me a hard time about that. So I filed a complaint with Airbnb. I was like, yo, bro, this apartment was whack and everything like that. I had to complain like a white man. Um, and I got a refund for it and everything like that. But when I
yeah,
left, I like couldn't lock the door back, which was weird. So I was like, this is. And I'll tell you, I was like, yo, I tried to lock the door, but it don't lock. So I don't, that ain't my issue, I guess. But
yeah.
yeah, it was a mess. And I was like, some scamming Atlanta. Like I instantly was just like, oh, this is the Atlanta people been talking about. I'm getting scammed. Somebody trying to get over on me, all that type of stuff. It felt weird. I wasn't comfortable with the door being all, kind of locked and everything like that.
Yeah.
It was just a weird space. And then the door to the apartment wasn't locked either. So people could just walk into the apartment building.
Mm,
So it was just all bad. And so
that's
I got
funny.
my money back, but I was mad. And then I was like, I had some other like interactions. I was at a gas station and this lady next to me was like cussing out her hairdresser. True story. Like going in on the hairdresser, wanting they deposit back or something. And I was just like, this is typical. This is Atlanta people talk about. But
Oh,
I
that's
say all
funny.
that. So I was soured on Atlanta. I was like, yo, I'm good on Atlanta. But the past two times I had a great, like last weekend I had a ball in Atlanta. I halfway met T-Pain. Halfway. And I say halfway because it was like it wasn't a consensual like meet. You know what I mean? It wasn't necessary. I kind of
So
forced my
you,
way.
so you were stalking T-Pain.
Basically, so what happened was I went to this 85, shout out to 85 South. I went to they had a little comedy show in Atlanta at this club in
Yeah.
Atlanta. And I went to the earlier show. In hindsight, I should have went to the late show because that was the one that was popping. But I went to the early show. So as I was leaving, everybody who was coming to the late show was pulling up and whatever.
Mm,
So I was pulling out the little the club parking lot and like how niggas be when they stop in front of just stop traffic in front of there and just start talking to people and just
mm-hmm.
don't even really like just no regard for anybody behind them. So they stop it and so I'm like I'm stopped behind them, but this car in front of me is like pulling into a spot and it's this navy blue Rolls Royce truck, which I've never seen in person. But I was like, and then I start looking into the driver's seat and I was like, I think that's T-Pain. And I was like, I like kind of lose it. So I had to confirm if it was T-Pain. So I stopped. I become the nigga I was mad about just 20 seconds before. I had to stop. I stopped
Wait,
traffic.
so he didn't have it tinted?
It was through the driver's like the front windshield. So I don't know if the side.
Oh,
I don't remember
okay.
if the sides were like that dark tinted, but I could see him through like the front
Okay.
windshield. So yeah, I was looking. I was like, I think that's T-Pain. So I stopped. I stopped. And I just waited basically, right, for him to get out. Cause it's T-Pain. This nigga made bartender. I couldn't like pass this up. I couldn't just be like, oh, I saw T-Pain and just kept going.
Wait, so where did you wait? Were
I
you
waited
in the
right in front.
car or
I
standing
was in the
outside?
car. No, I was in the car driving off. Like I was pulling out of the driveway. But I was
Uh,
at first I was stopped behind somebody, but then he was pulling in. So I let him get in. And then he was like, say he could pull, say he had space enough to pull out if he wanted to. I was like right there. But
mhm.
then I creep up a little bit in front of his car and I just sit there. I sit there and I'm just staring. Like I'm just looking, waiting for him to get out. Cause I was like, I gotta speak to T-Pain. I can't like pass this opportunity up. So
Wait, meanwhile, he's getting creeped out,
he
thinking
was real creeped out.
it's better get invaded.
He was real creeped out. His wife was in the passenger seat, so he was real creeped out. But I'm
Oh
still
my
waiting. I'm just
gosh.
like, yo, he gonna have to get out this car at some point. So I'm just sitting there. This is like a minute of like me sitting there like in front of
Right.
his car. And
But
there's
that minute is like 20 minutes.
yeah, it's like a friend. It was a real awkward like I wouldn't recommend anybody else doing this, but it was T-Pain.
Oh my
So I'm just
gosh.
sitting there, I'm waiting for him to and he's sitting in his car staring at me too as this is happening. Like he don't want to get out and say
As he
nothing.
should. Cause it's this creepy dude that's just sitting here.
But I couldn't, I had to say what's something. So I'm just sitting there. He's sitting in his car, and then he finally get out and or whatever. And it's like some other people walk up to him, I guess who he knew or whatever. And I rolled the window down, and I was like, T-Pain, T-Pain, what's up, baby? T, what's good? What's good, T? Like I lose it. I like go absolutely crazy, and I don't like. I'm not even. I've seen other kind of famous people, and I never really tripped like I tripped on. But this was T-Pain, bruh. Like he was like the high school. He was like my high school soundtrack for the most part. Like he was everywhere in high school from
He
like '07,
was.
from like '05 to like
He
'09.
he couldn't miss
Could not miss at all. I
for
was like,
years.
I gotta say what's up to T Pain, and then tell niggas I met him. And so,
Oh my gosh. That is ridiculous. I mean, like, I just feel like why go through all that and not get a picture or something, or at least make it not so uncomfortable. Maybe he would have taken a picture with you.
I don't know. He was like, so I wanted to add that he looked real awkward about it. He looked very uncomfortable. Like,
Because he was uncomfortable. You made him uncomfortable. He went home and talked to somebody about this dude making him uncomfortable. Like, yeah, it was this like weird cat who was just sitting in front of me. I don't know why he say cat. I assume he's an old head. But he was just sitting in front of me, just staring, wouldn't let me and my wife get out the car. You don't know what he had. He could have pulled out a pistol and been like, yo, keep it moving. Would
and
you
I've been
still been
like,
like, yo,
I'm,
T-Pain?
I still would have been like, hey, baby, ain't no smoke, baby. Hey, I just want to say hello. Hey, I'm out. Hey, baby, bartender, baby. I'm good. We good, baby. We good. We good. I just
Oh
want to
my
say hello.
gosh.
Hey, y'all have a nice evening, all right? Y'all enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the show. And that would have been it. I
Um,
would have turned into an old head real quick, right? If he pulled out a gun.
that's ridiculous. So the reason why I know how that can make somebody so uncomfortable is because I did that to my pastor once. Pastor, I'm not gonna say which pastor. So
Let me ask you, was it in Dayton or Detroit?
it was in Detroit.
Okay. All right.
Um, so I had gotten in a car accident
Mm.
and I was given a rental car. My rental car was a Tahoe, like
Mm.
big boy, fully decked out, tinted, everything.
Oh, you
So
the neighborhood dope
I,
boy at this point.
and I'm sure I looked that way too, especially because right after that's when I got the 300.
Oh boy, you was a talk of the east side of Detroit. Oh my
So,
gosh.
so I had the Tahoe for like a month, and like I saw him driving by one day, and I just tailed him for a little bit. Just, so I like he pulls in, like gets out, gets his kids out the car and everything, and I'm just sitting at the end of the driveway with the window rolled up, just like looking. And he's looking, he's very observant. He grew up in the hood, Cleveland. He's got some history. Let's put it that way. So
Mm.
he's looking. I can see him just like still situating with his kids, but he keep like looking over his shoulder and seeing like what's up with this. So as I'm sitting there, I start to roll the window down a little bit, but not all the way so he can see me, just
Mm.
enough. So he starts walking towards like his gate, and then he's like telling his kids, he's like, y'all go in the house. As he's walking, I see him reach back. Like
Oh.
like legit. Like I see him reach back. And I knew I like in that moment I had to put two and two together because I knew he like has his concealed carry license. So
Mm.
I'm like, I know exactly what he's reaching for. And the way that he told his kids to go in the house, and I saw him reach back. So I hurry up and roll the window down. I was like, hey, it's just me. It's me. It's Kyle. It's Kyle. He was like,
See,
yo, man. And then he was just like, yo, man, you can't play like that. He was like, I was getting ready. And I was just like, I saw that. That's why I'm like, chill. Like, you supposed to be my pastor. You can't kill one of your parishioners. Like, that ain't gonna work out well.
I mean,
How
you
we gonna put
could,
that in the
but
news? I mean, I've actually read a story of a pastor killing one of his parishioners in the church.
oh
He
man,
just he just
I've
shot
been
him
seeing
in
fight
Detroit.
videos. Oh, yeah, I can see.
It's not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing.
It
It's
sounds about
terrible.
right though. It sounds about right. I've been seeing fight videos in churches lately. Have you seen these videos of people getting into fights in church? It's
No.
been happening like a few times. It's been like viral videos of people running up on people in church and just duking it out. Like full blown service though, not like church is over. It's like they doing praise and worship and somebody's like, Larry, nigga, come here and getting into it, like duking it out. Like Google it, bruh. It's
Oh,
crazy. It's
that's
strange times.
crazy.
People losing their mind right now. Yeah.
That is crazy.
Mhm.
But like, I guess I don't know. They don't know when they're gonna catch them outside again.
Well, yeah, true.
Like this,
True.
this is my time.
True. That's a true story.
Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. is my window. 'Cause that's how long they're gonna be there.
Oh man. I saw Ti too and Steven Jackson, by the way, that same night at the same
That's
event.
so dope.
Yeah, I saw Ti. Apparently, Ti is always around in Atlanta. Like it's pretty easy to come in and see him. And apparently, I was acting not like it because people in Atlanta don't be tripping off of celebrities. So I clearly was
I'm
an
sure.
outsider. I clearly was an outsider, but I couldn't. It was T-Pain. What y'all want me to do? I wasn't even tripping off Ti, and Ti. I was closer to Ti than I was. Well, no, I was pretty close to both of them, but still, though, I could have went up to Ti too, but I wasn't even tripping off Ti. But T-Pain, I had to. I had to tell him like buy you a drink changed my life. Like it did. It changed my whole life. So
In what way?
I too wanted to buy somebody a drink after that. I too did. So yeah. Shout out to T-Pain, friend of the podcast.
Friend of the podcast.
Mm.
Probably not anymore. Once he sees who's on it, he gonna remember your face. Cause he was scarred. I'm sure that's not his worst experience, but he's gonna remember it.
Yeah, he would look real awkward and uncomfortable. He was just kind of looking at me like I like was cussing at him or something. It was just not. I didn't care though. It was T-Pain, man. I was excited. And I've never like spazzed out over like it was just I couldn't help it, man. I just couldn't help it. His car was cold though. That Rolls Royce truck was. It was like whoa, okay, there's levels to this.
Yeah. Actually, I just thought about something.
What's that?
I take it back. I don't think those CEOs would get a Bugatti. I feel like that's not their type of thing. But it might be. I don't know. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
I feel like people at that level, they they might have a Ferrari. I don't know about a Bugatti.
yeah, definitely a Benz, but that's not that like that's not that crazy.
A
Benz,
Maybach maybe.
yeah, AMG, something like that.
Well, AMG is just a performance level. It's
Mm.
not it's not like more luxury.
Oh, okay.
Hmm
Hmm.
A Bentley.
Yeah,
I see Bentleys around Detroit quite often, actually.
you need to
Like
tap in with them.
surprising.
You need
It's
to ask them what they
surprising.
doing to get that Bentley, and be
Yeah.
prepared to do whatever it is they say. That's the other part of this. Not just ask, but be prepared to hop in and get in the game, whatever the game is that they doing.
No, thank you.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
really care to have a Bentley. Even if I
Mm.
got money like that, it's not
I
my
know.
thing. I don't care about like excessive luxury. I care
Yeah,
more
me
about
either.
performance.
The only thing I think I want now that's like I don't even know if it's like obscene. So I like randomly stumbled upon like in Nashville, the Four Seasons Hotel. They you can buy like a condo or a penthouse in the Four Seasons. I
Mm.
really want like a high rise apartment. Like that's a dream. Like I
Hmm.
don't want a house. I don't want a white picket fence in the house. I want a high rise apartment that has
With
its
your
own
own elevator access.
Yeah, I want that. That's like
That
my
would be kind of dope.
yeah. That's it. On the low though, nobody knows I live there, and then till I invite
Yeah.
people over. Like here's my address. I'll let you up.
And
That's
then there's
it.
a I've been watching too much murder stuff. I immediately thought, and then there's a murder and there's an investigation, because
Like
that's
that
all.
Kevin. Have you seen that Kevin Hart movie?
I still haven't.
Oh, you dang. Okay, I don't
I
want to
I
spoil it.
keep forgetting about it. I started
It's really
watching other
good
stuff.
too.
I know.
It's worth
I
the
hear it's
time.
good,
It's worth the time. It's actually really, really good and like a different change of pace for him.
but
But
I've
they
been like catching up on stuff that's even older that I'm just now watching,
mm, mm,
like you.
right.
Which
How far along are you in you right now, by the way?
I think I watched two episodes of the third season.
And it's four
So
seasons, right?
I
Cuz I
think it's
keep
only
forgetting.
three.
Okay, so
It
you in so you saw what happened with old girl then?
which ogre with
With
Candace?
Love.
Oh, with Love. Yeah, what she did.
Yeah, you saw how she
She
giving it up now.
she wild.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all
Like,
right. I've been waiting for you to get to that point where you see
so
like he met his
I'm also
match.
I'm also mad that you said something to me though, when
Oh.
because you were like, oh, you ain't haven't found out about Love yet, because then they just like put her on my radar more than she already was.
She should have
So
been. I mean, she was kind of weird from jump. So
I I don't know. I mean, she was low key normal to
she
I
was,
felt
yeah,
like,
a little bit. She was a little bit
in
more.
in lieu of her like losing her husband. Like she
Yeah.
was, yeah. But then I thought they was gonna talk about like she killed her husband too or something. And I was just like, oh snap. But if that has happened, it hasn't happened yet. So don't say
Mm.
nothing. I'm also not gonna look at you because you don't get to do a good job at hiding your
I'm
face.
not saying anything. I'm not saying anything.
Okay.
Just keep watching it,
But
brother.
but yeah, it's good. It's really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, you hooked me. I don't know how I found you either, because I wasn't something I would watch if I didn't know about it or somebody didn't put me on.
Right.
But yeah,
Right. It was Tasha was watching it and I like caught bits and pieces of it and it was interesting, but I hadn't watched it from the beginning, so I just didn't keep watching it. But yeah.
yeah.
Whew. Joe. Joe is crazy.
He ain't got nothing on no boy from Insecure though. Joe couldn't handle him.
I don't know.
People really are loving that video, by the way. On the
Are
people
they?
are laughing at that joint. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That joint. I was laughing.
Because
I
I'm
keep
sure they
laughing.
never heard of that movie.
I was laughing at it again. Like it's
I,
ridiculous.
I am sure they never heard of it.
Speaking of black actors, so I was watching TV recently, and a commercial came. I don't know what I was watching, but a commercial came on, and it was the dude, and it was a black dude in it, and it was a dude from Fat Albert. His name's Jermaine Williams. Google him really quick. You might have to Google him, unless you know who he is off rip. But he was in Fat Albert.
No.
He was in Fat Albert. What other? I think he was either in Drumline or no, he was in Stomp. He was in Stomp, the original Stomp the Yard
Okay.
too.
This dude.
He was in the original Stomp the Yard as well. And
Uh-huh.
I saw him in that commercial and I just got mad. I'm tired of Hollywood disrespecting our black actors. Like it's
I
like all
mean,
he
what was
can
he
get
doing in the commercial?
just being in the commercial. I'm just mad he in the commercial at all.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
It's like he a talented actor. He done did Fat Albert, Stomp the Yard, and he can't get a real role. He got to do commercials. And good for him. Get his money however you got to get it. I get it. You know what I mean? I'm not knocking him getting his pet bread. Especially that's a national commercial. Apparently that gets you even more money when you get a national commercial. So, but still though, like I'm tired of that.
Oh, he is in Ratchet. You would like Ratchet too.
Who in Ratchet?
You're laughing. No, you're laughing. So it's not like a black show or movie. It's actually a fairly white cast.
Oh, okay.
But it's It's a Netflix show, but it's based off of Who Flew Over Cuckoo or One Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest.
Okay, I've heard it. Okay, yeah.
So it's like a psychological thriller, but
Mm.
it's good.
It's a movie?
It's
It's a
a
movie.
show.
It's a
It's like
show.
a
Okay.
yeah. It's only
Oh,
has one season.
dang.
Um, but it's good.
Mm. Okay. Hmm.
So I caught that over the pandemic.
Yeah, I thought Ratchet was like with Ti and like Lil
No.
Duval and just a bunch of
Oh, I know
random black.
exactly what you're talking about. I have that in my list on Netflix because I want to watch it, but I just haven't.
The movie with Ti. What movie is that with Ti and Duval? I
I'm
forget.
looking it up. I don't remember the name of it.
I think
Uh,
I don't remember now either. But yeah, I thought it was something like that.
Yo, Ti is in hella movies.
He getting his acting on, man. He been doing for a while since ATL.
I actually
Since
really like ATL. That's
Yeah,
a great
ATL is a good
movie.
one. ATL is a classic. It is.
Um, I know. Are is what you're talking about? Do they own like a shop or something, like a restaurant or something?
Something like that. I forget, and I think it's got to do with we. I think it's something about maybe it's about, I don't know. I might be mixing up little Duval movies, but yeah, it's something to that effect.
It's easy to do. I don't even see it listed on his movies. At least
Uh,
on Google. I'd probably have to go to IMDb.
yeah, I don't know. Um, but yeah, I definitely thought Ratchet was something crazy like that.
Understandable.
I just, I want Hollywood to treat us better. That's my only request, Hollywood. Treat us better. Treat our black actors and actors like you would treat anybody else.
Mm,
Give them roles like you giving everybody else roles.
I know. Like if I were an actor and I got into like any show, I would want to be or a movie, I would want to be on Netflix because they always get recycled on other shows.
Oh, word, yeah.
Always.
I would either do that or get down with Shonda Rhimes or Tyler Perry because they'll always call you back too. They
That's
and
true.
they call you back. Christopher Nolan, I would love to do Chris. He always recycling
Mm,
actors, but that's like high level. You know what I mean, Christopher
right.
Nolan. But
He
yeah, yeah, man. Uh,
um cuz there's this I wish I knew his name. I feel bad for not knowing his name. It's this one black dude that is in like every Netflix show until probably the past couple years. Every Netflix show I watched, he was in it. Um, what is his name? I guess I got to start with Luke Cage. I think that's the
Is it
only
that the
thing I can.
bald headed the dude who play Luke Cage?
No, it's
Oh, I
not
think I know
him.
you talking about. He like a kind of like a older. He looked kind of Hispanic.
No.
Oh, I wasn't, and I wasn't when I said that. I was like, I'm not thinking talking about Giancarlo Esposito. I ain't talking about him, even though he a legend. That he's like one of my favorite actors. Um,
Yeah, he is really good. That's the dude who plays Gus,
yeah, and Breaking
right?
Bad. Yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
He's very versatile.
Super. I don't even see him. Oh, they doing my man's dirty.
I think I know I feel like I know who you talking about though. You talking about the dark he like owned the shop.
Uh,
He owned like the barber shop.
no.
No,
He
not
didn't own
him.
anything.
Oh.
He was like, I don't know. He's kind of like a throwaway character, but he's like a character that always provides some information that somebody needs.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I know who you talk. He got like the goatee, like the little slim glow goat, and he always wear hats in his roles too. I feel like maybe I got a specific person in mind. Maybe it's not them. I don't know, but yeah,
I can't think of this dude's name, but he was in everything.
word.
I'll find it eventually, but not now. Um, so we talked last week or a couple weeks ago about like politics and
Mm-hmm.
how or no, we were talking about media, not
Right.
necessarily politics. Um, so I'm curious to hear what's your take on like our media and like our news media, and especially like I think we were talking about it in the context of what's happening with Russia and Ukraine right now.
Hmm. Yeah. Um. Well, I guess that's a broad question, but I guess I'll say that like our news media, for one, most if you look it up, like it's only like three or four corporations that own all news media in America.
Yeah.
Um, and so like our news media really is like a propaganda arm of our government in a lot of ways. It's not really meant to like inform, which is supposed to be the original, like our news media does inform to some extent. Obviously, I'm not like, I don't want to paint too broad of a brush. It does, like, it'll tell you the weather, it'll tell you this murder happened across the street, it'll tell you stuff like that. But in terms of like the larger scale stuff, like, or in terms of our government, our news media doesn't really like serve as like this like because the reason like our constitution gives news media such freedom, the freedom of the press, is because it was supposed to be like another check and balance for our government, and the news and our press was supposed to serve as like a like basically a kind of like a way for information to get out that was unbiased, but that also kept the government in check from like doing something crazy or whatever like that.
Mm.
Obviously, like obviously when super stuff, crazy stuff happens, like obviously our news media reports on it. But obviously every news outlet has a certain bias. Like we know Fox News is super conservative. We know CNN is liberal. MSNBC is like liberal, but kind of like in the middle, but like in the middle, but kind of leaning towards the liberal. And so like every news outlet has like that level of bias, but the stuff they report on and how they report on it isn't like, doesn't lend itself to like critical thought. It doesn't lend itself to like people really questioning like what our government is doing. It's more so just like, okay, it's an echo chamber, really. Like if all I watch is CNN, but I already believe what everything CNN is saying, it's just gonna be confirmation bias. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And if I like, if I'm conservative and all I watch is Fox News, it's an echo chamber. It's gonna always gonna be confirming like what I believe, and they do it like that. They're like they want it to be that way. They want to like Fox News intentionally reports news in such a way that people's biases, their conservative biases or whatever their bias may be, are being confirmed. It's like, oh, okay, Donald Trump is the best thing that's ever happened to America, and we're going to report on the news in such a way that makes it seem, you know what I mean, and vice versa. CNN is going to say Donald Trump is the worst person ever, and we're going to report the news in such a way that like continues to confirm your beliefs. But that's not really the way. That's not, for one. That's not journalism. For one, journalism is supposed to be independent and without real bias, or at least noticeable bias.
Right.
um and it's also supposed to lend itself to being like critical, and our press is supposed to be critical and supposed to challenge what's happening in our government, and supposed to report, really stick to the facts, and allow people the option to decide what they think and believe about a situation. And our government is like, or our press, and it doesn't do that. It basically is like, all right, we're gonna keep feeding you what you want to hear, and so you'll keep coming back to us. So yeah, so that's my take on that. And so in terms of like in context of Russia and the Ukraine, um, our well right now our media is going to be very like pro Ukraine, and very kind of like oversimplifying the situation in a lot of
Mhm.
ways, because it's a little more complex than just like Russia's this bad guy and the Ukraine is like these, and like obviously nobody wants innocent lives lost, and I'm not going to advocate for that either. But the way the Ukraine, their like their government and their history, it's a little bit, the situation is a little more complex than just like, oh, Ukraine doesn't want anything to do with Russia, because a lot of Ukrainians have loyalty to Russia because of just how the Ukraine was formed, because the Ukraine was formed out of the Soviet Union.
Mhm.
And there was a lot of Russians who moved to the Ukraine in like the 40s and 50s or something like that, and so they still have kind of like an
It was
affinity
like the
for Russia.
30s.
Yeah, the 30, yeah, and so they have an affinity though for Russia. A lot of them still, even though they live in the Ukraine, and so like the country is in some ways divided about the issue as a whole. But our news media tends to oversimplify that, because for one, America as a whole is just a very anti-intellectual society right now. And like nobody is like thinking.
It is.
It's just like nobody's really doing no real thought about stuff. And so like our news media is just feeding it as like, oh, Russia's an antagonist and Russia's a protagonist, and America is like the superhero coming to save the day. And
Hmm.
that's really not the situation. Not completely at least.
Yeah.
So yeah. But again, I don't want people like I don't want innocent lives to be lost. I'm not pro Putin or nothing. I don't think people should be like he should just be able to bomb or like move willy nilly however he wants to. But yeah, that's my take on it though right now. And in general, I feel like anybody who's listening to this, if you watch the news or whatever, always be listening with a critical eye and like also like do like listen to multiple sources. Why you make that face?
You said listen with a critical eye. I
Oh, a
didn't know
critical
eyes
ear.
could. Didn't know eyes could
You
listen.
know what I mean. Y'all know what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. This the type of stuff I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's the kind of critical you need to be, ladies and gentlemen. That's what he means. Hmm.
Yeah, that's right. And so, yeah, listen with a critical ear and then also compare and contrast stuff. Like, you know what I mean? I would go to multiple sources. That's the best way to like anybody who does any real research on it would always tell you to go to multiple sources so you can get a full perspective on what's going on.
Hmm.
But people tend to just want to hear what they want to hear or go to what's like going to like confirm their own biases. So,
People have itching ears, even though that's
my,
in
my, my,
context
my. Mm,
to
mm,
spiritual things,
mm,
but
mm,
it's still true in many other aspects.
mm.
But yeah, I agree. Like I see a lot of that working at Costco, which that's what makes it difficult working at Costco. I'm okay with the job itself. It's the people that are just so contentious, and they also don't listen to sound reasoning, and you
Mm.
can't tell them anything because they don't listen to anything besides the source that they find their stuff from. And I'm like, what are these sources? Like, I had a dude tell me that corn has no nutritional value, and I was like, that's not true though. Like, it actually does. A lot of people say that, but it
It
does have
just doesn't
minerals.
digest like other food. That's really, I
Right,
think, what
like the
people.
husk of it, like we
Yeah.
see that, and I think people are just like, "Oh yeah, so it didn't process, but like it's still the meat is inside of that." And um but yeah, like it has minerals and vitamins in it. But he was like telling me up and down, like, "No, it's not that." And he's like, "Well, what kind of corn do you mean? You mean like maize corn or like yellow corn? Because yellow corn is GMO, but that maize stuff that's like, what the Native Americans ate,
I was
that's
just about to
real
bring them
corn.
up.
That's real corn." And I'm just like, "Okay, dude,
uh,
whatever." Um but yeah, I agree. The our media, I don't think I've been more upset at our media besides this Ukraine stuff, cuz I usually don't pay attention to the news at all because I know it's BS. So,
right. Yeah.
I just avoid it, but I've been doing exactly what you said. Like, I try to look at different sources because I know even if something is right, it's only gonna, people can only get so much information out in a segment of time. So
Yeah. Right.
some people will fill in a little more than somebody else will. So I watch a whole bunch of different things, but I've been mostly watching things that are on like lesser known channels on YouTube who have no allegiance to anything. And
Yeah.
but then I also, and I regret doing this, so I like searched what Fox News is saying about it. So now my feed just keeps flooding me with all this Fox News stuff because they think that's what I want to hear. I'm like, no, I was just doing
The
research.
algorithm.
But then I've looked at like MSNBC, ABC, all of them are just saying like ridiculous stuff that is just stupid. It's like really
Yeah.
dumb, to be honest. Like somebody was saying, I think it was the day the invasion started. They were saying that if you think Putin is actually like having a calculated attack, or like if he's really thinking through this and all this stuff, and you thinking like he's not just doing things based off of his pride and ego, then you'd be mistaken. I'm like, no, like, no. And that upsets me so much. Even like when people talk about Trump, like, I don't like Trump, but it's like people just treat these people in power like they're so dumb or like they're just idiots. I'm like, nobody gets to that position and is
No,
truly
not at
dumb.
all. Right.
They
Yeah.
they play the role that they need to play to get the support that they need to get.
Right.
And but and especially talking about Putin, I'm like, the more I've done research on it, like, it's so calculated. It's like
Yeah.
so precise. Like, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's been planning this for
He been
years.
president for like 50 years over there. Not that long. I'm exaggerating, but he's been
Yeah.
like
For
he's
like 20
been
years
he's been
though.
managed to like stay like relatively empowered over there for a long time.
So
Like
and I found that in the research I was doing, like, they used to vote for presidents. He
right.
changed the rule. So now he's just the ruler until he dies.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's
Cause he was,
crazy.
I was gonna say he was out of office for a little bit actually, but he still was kind of like around and in power. And
Yeah.
then I think the dude got ousted or whoever was the president, and then Putin came back into power, and then he just kept his power
Uh-huh.
basically. But yeah,
Yeah. But it's just, I don't know, like, our media, and then it also just plays us like we're dumb. Like, whatever we say is just what people are going to believe and they're just going to go with it. And that is the case for most people
yeah,
because, like I always say, I can't tell it to those people because they don't want to hear it. But most people are average. Like, we have an average because average people exist. Like that, there's no other way to sugarcoat that or say that. Um, and that works 90% of the time. And
we
it's
just lost
like,
most of our listener demographic.
I mean, but
Yeah.
I learned just statistics, like in being in school and stuff. Like, you have your bell curve. 90% of your bell curve is average, and then you've got 5% of your outliers, and that's like statistics 101. It's like you have your low end, the people that are really dumb, and then you have and then you have your upper end, which are the people that are brilliant. But those people that are brilliant, usually they either do good or bad. Most of the
Yeah.
time they do bad though. And
They use
that's
their
what
powers for
sucks.
evil.
Yeah. And somebody had to explain that to me because I was like questioning, how do we come up, like, in history, how have we come up with so many like devices of torture that are so creative?
Mm.
And he was just like, you got that 5% that are still really bad people. And I was like, dang, you're right. Like, like,
What's interesting about that is like about the average thing is like our founding fathers like were not in favor of everybody having the opportunity to vote.
mm,
They were elitists. They wanted like only rich people to have the right to vote, which is how it was for a while. Because only people who own land could vote for a while. That was like the criteria. And
mm,
then they opened it up to like all white men basically could vote for a while, and then they finally started opening. As the country progressed, they opened it up more and more to other people. But they were not like they didn't think people of a certain like because they it was just an assumption if you didn't have a land that showed you weren't really because that was like a sign of wealth obviously at that point because it was an
yeah,
agrarian society. And so it was like, yo, it was a sign like you were an average person, or you just weren't like you're not somebody qualified enough. You don't know enough about government to be out here voting on like who should be president or governor or
mm.
whatever the case is. So yeah, they would agree with you actually that most people are to say all that to say they would agree with that. Um, but they
um,
also own slaves, so what do they know?
again, 5%, they do evil
Yeah, yeah,
things. Like,
true. Uh, uh,
um, but yeah, and then, like, so trying to quiet all that noise of like the US media and all that stuff. So I started doing my own research, and like, it is so much deeper. Even the stuff that you're saying about, like, there's people in Russia or people in Ukraine that have allegiance to Russia. So in like the 20s and 30s, the Russian presidents, or just like right after the Soviet collapsed, um, like whoever was leading Russia at the time, they were actually sending Russians to the Ukraine. So this
Well, this would have
whole
been Lenin, or yeah, or Stalin, either Lenin or Stalin, one of the two. I'm assuming it's Lenin.
maybe.
I think it was Stalin though by that point. But anyway, go. Sorry.
Um, but the so like the whole thing of people have allegiance to it, like they're not historically Ukrainian. It was still Russia that was doing this. So it was
Right.
like still, and then they also had a lot of more control over the Ukraine, and they actually abolished their language, like the Ukrainian language. Like it was illegal to speak that language in the Ukraine.
Mm.
And like, so just this whole concept of like we're one nation and stuff, like that's still kind of false, but
Right.
still kind of true because they were all with the Soviet Union. But it's just like a lot. And then geographically, like I understand how someone could feel like this is the end of the road for me, because that's the only country that's still open, that's like not in NATO, that borders Russia. So
Yeah.
like if if they're a part of NATO, that means NATO has a further like
Foothold. Yeah.
infiltration point into the Russian border. But
Yeah.
like if Russia has it, Ukraine goes further into the rest of Europe than it does into Russia. So
Right.
like they have a stronger foothold if they capture and have all of Ukraine. So it's like on many levels, this Putin is like doing things, and I think like I mean he's still low key young. Like he's I think like 2 years older than my mom. He's not 70 yet, so like he
Yeah.
has plenty more time to do other things in Europe, which I
Yeah.
think he will do.
Yeah.
Um, and that makes me nervous because Europe is where the world war starts. Like all
Yeah.
of them started with Europe.
Everyone. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know what that would look like, what a world war would look like in 2021 and or 2022, and with the threat of like nuclear warfare on both, because
Mm.
Russia has nuclear weapons. Obviously, we have nuclear weapons. Um,
Yeah, and Ukraine surrendered theirs to Russia some years ago. So that's
that's not
another
funny.
thing.
That's not funny. It's just funny. It's like it's like y'all gave the guns. So it's like those movies when they like you gave them your guns. It's like, oh
Yeah.
man, but nobody wants. No, we don't want nuclear warfare at all. That's
And
not.
speaking of that, like I just think it's crazy because I don't like the notion that people are saying like this is gonna be World War III. But at the same time, it's like you don't know how things are gonna transpire. Like you don't know who's gonna react to what in what
Yeah.
way. And just I was thinking of World War II and how again that started in Europe, but it ended with the United States dropping atomic bombs on Japan.
Yeah.
Like, how did they get involved in it? I'm sure. I know I can look into it and see
Oh,
why,
you want a
but
history lesson?
sure, go for it.
So Japan historically has always been an imperial society. They're like of the Asian countries. That's where the samurai, all that culture comes
Hmm.
from. Japan is like about it. They've always been
Which
about it.
the samurai was copied from China.
But
Japan
regardless,
copied a lot of their
but
culture from
Japan was
China.
like Japan's culture is very like excellence and very like aggression.
Hmm.
Like they're just not like a soft country. They've beat China like in countless wars. As big as China
Right.
is, Japan whooped them up. Like, and
Yeah.
Japan beat Russia in a war too. Actually, way back in the day. So,
Hmm.
um, but at the time, so Japan wanted so how they got involved, they saw that they saw an opportunity to kind of they had their eyes on Hawaii. It's all like most like wars are like a geopolitical. There's like a they want some like inroads. So Hawaii to them represented a little bit more inroads and a little bit more power. in that regard. And so they at that point it was Germany, Italy, and Japan. They made the Axis powers, and so that's how they got involved because they were aligned with
Excuse
Germany. And so when
me. Oh,
Germany,
okay.
when the United States got involved in the War Two, the United States declared war on Germany, and then as a result of that, the Japan declared war on the United States because they were aligned with Germany in the World War, and then they set it off with the atomic, not the atomic bomb, but the when they bombed Pearl
Pearl
Harbor.
Harbor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They
Yeah.
set it off, and then that set off the World War II. So that's how they got involved, and that's how it ended up, and that's how. And so at the time, the bomb was kind of just to put a like, cause we were winning, but it was just kind of like, all right, let's just end this.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a racial element to it too, because like
Of course.
the United States, I don't, and that's the thing. Something I want to touch on because I don't know if you've been seeing like how the media has been reporting on this war
Yes, I do
uh,
want to talk about that.
about how like, oh, we can't believe these white people are fighting each other, and I
Mm-hmm.
just don't want like I'm so conflicted about
Like
this.
this.
This is
This isn't
yeah,
some third world country.
yeah. But
These
every world war has been
are
in
do well people.
yeah, exactly. Like that's how, and so like I don't believe the United States would have ever dropped a bomb on a European country. Even Russia, I don't even
Mm.
think they would have because of that aspect of race. But it was easier because it was an Asian country. It was just they were other, and so it's easy to
Mm-hmm.
drop a bomb on that and justify it because there was like a racial element. I definitely believe that. Now, obviously, there's no proof of that. There's no like the United States coming out and saying we don't like other people.
What do
Well,
you mean? There's no proof.
I mean,
History is
no,
the proof.
well, history, but I'm saying like it wasn't like that was like they on record of them saying that was their motivation is what I'm saying
Mm.
more so, not
You
like
wanna wait? I got proof.
okay.
Have you heard of MSG?
The,
Monosodium glutamate.
yeah, that's what they put in Chinese food, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's part of my point. You
Mm.
saying that's what they put in Chinese food. So, I mean, even what I'm about to say, it still was Chinese food. But there was a dude who was eating Chinese food. He felt sick from it and then found that MSG is this thing that's in this Chinese food. So he wrote this article back in the 70s and
Mm.
published it. And that one article is what set the whole world ablaze about MSG is bad. So it became a thing because people were associating MSG with Asian, and everything
Ah.
Asian became bad. So people were just upset, and then it became like a
Ah.
very race heavy thing.
And they don't even eat Chinese food. They our version. That's what's funny too.
Right. So, and then all that still MSG isn't even bad at all. It's a form of salt. Like it was developed
Mm.
by this dude that was trying to create the umami, which is a like a term for something like something being savory is or similar to savory, but
Yeah.
he wanted to create it without having to do all this other cooking process. So he like associated the proteins in the salt
Mm.
and it became MSG. And there's like nothing bad about it. Besides, if you
Interessante.
use too much, it's just too much sodium.
Mm.
So that's your proof.
Touche. Touche. Hmm.
Continue.
I don't know where I was.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just but basically so the bomb how we end up how the war ended in Japan is cuz we had to hold off Japan from like making inroads into the Pacific basically is what it was because it was a Pacific, it was about the geopolitical Pacific, which is where Hawaii was the middle of it, and so we couldn't have
Mm-hmm.
Japan getting so close to the United States because that's what it's about. Like we don't ever want other countries getting too close to our borders unless
Mm.
we like really co-sign off of on it. And
But
now we don't
yet,
even got to worry about that because the United States has a military base basically like everywhere that they can have a military base.
yeah.
Um,
Dang, that's crazy. And
and also, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the amount of things that happen, like, just like the scape in of how our world is shaped from like what these European countries have done. but then when somebody tries to do it, they're like, "Oh, hell no." Like, it's just nuts to me.
Yeah, man. They don't. Yeah, yeah. Let a country try to get independence how they want to get it. They will squash it so quick with a little CIA
Yeah,
operation
cause
on the
hi,
low.
cause Hawaiians still don't really mess with us like that
They
because
love black people though. By the way, interesting fact. Hawaiians love black people.
they do. That's good to
Yeah,
know.
yeah. They like because they see a commonality with our struggle. So yeah,
Okay,
I got a lot of
but
love when I was in Hawaii.
yeah, they're just like they don't really consider themselves U.S. citizens,
Nah, not like that. Yeah, because we just kind of ran up in their spot and
right?
just took it.
Just took it. It's the same with like Russia and Chimera. I think that's the Ukraine province that they took. Like
Mm.
that was illegally done. Like the rest of Europe sees that was illegally done. Like that wasn't something that was signed off on. They just came and took it
Yeah, but
and
when it's somebody
annexed it.
doing it that they don't want, they not with it. But that's another aspect of this too. Is like our media will often like overrate the threat of a country. Like
Mm-hmm.
Iran for a long time was like, oh, this is such a threat. They're trying to get a nuclear weapon. The U.S.
Mm-hmm.
government, like people don't understand how big our military is. Like it's light years ahead of like any other military like in the world. Like any other like I'm talking China, Russia, I don't care who you talk about. The US military is like it's like here and then it's just a gap between any other military. Like we have like I said we have bases everywhere. We have so much military power like the idea of like even somebody like Iran being a threat, we would squash Iran in seconds. Like
Right.
just because of how like, but it's like, but it, it's propaganda. Like they will report on these issues like, and it gets people like I guess they play onto our fears. They play onto our like people's I guess distrust, paranoia, and everything like that. And then that's how they justify war, and that's how they like that's how our media reports on our wars as this is looming threat of our freedom and everything. The biggest threat to American freedom, at least not my freedom, is the police. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, Russia's not a threat to my Iran's never been a threat to my freedom. It's literally my government has been the biggest threat to my freedom, but that's not how our
Right.
media reports on things. And but people will continue to believe that anytime there's a threat coming up, like oh, because we could, I honestly, I mean, outside of the nuclear threat, that's the thing with Russia. We don't want to get involved with them because of the aspect of nuclear warfare. That's really the real like it's called mutually assured destruction. It's a term for it, MAD.
Mm.
That's really the threat. It's like, all right, we could squash Russia, but if they throw off a bomb, it's like, oh shoot, we don't want. That's why it's like that's what the Cold War was about. It's like that's really the issue. It's like, but war
Yeah.
wise, like our military is light years ahead of Russia's military, but
How
we
do
don't
we
want
know that though? How do we know it's light years ahead?
because we spend trillions of dollars on our military every year, Kyle.
And you think they don't?
They don't have the money we have. They're not as rich as us.
I mean,
And
that's
they really not
true.
about to be as because they putting a lot of economic sanctions on right now because Russians can't like get access to their banks are getting shut down.
That's the other thing. I was watching something about the sanctions, and most of the sanctions that countries have put on Russia are like not much. Like in comparison to how it changes their lives and like what Russia can actually do, they are like negligible. Um like even the banks, they're all like the lower tier banks that would affect people, but it's not affecting the
But
oligarchs.
that's the point though. Is like that's why it's psychological. Like it's affecting the common person. So if you're affecting their bank, if you're affecting like the common person, they're becoming less and less in favor of this war. And the more you know what I mean. So the less support you have from your people for a war, the harder it is to justify going into this war. And during wartime, you supposed to have the full support. You want everybody on board. Like, yeah, we're gonna do this. That's like
Yeah,
that's one of the biggest like one of the more underrated parts aspects of war is like having like a
the
huge
morale.
a huge nationalist spirit. If morale is low,
Yeah,
because your soldiers are gonna be like the common person is gonna be your soldier. And so
right.
if they're
The
like
average people.
yeah, if their morale is low, they're like not really on it it's gonna like make for a very futile war. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's why it's a big deal that they're like doing those. That's why it's a bit that they're affecting the common person. So you're right. The billionaire and the Russia's straight. They're like, yeah, I'm good, baby. I got my little private island over here. I'll be good. But the
yeah.
common person, that's
Cause
yeah.
a lot. Cause I was seeing, um, they were saying to truly affect. I guess maybe because that would be more long term, but to truly affect, and if they really wanted to, other countries, if they really wanted to stop what's happening right now, they would go after the oligarchs, however you say it, and that would be like they do a lot of their business and trading on the London Stock Exchange,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they would sanction those, and that would
Yeah.
like stop their flow of money, which
Right.
is
Yeah.
also Putin's flow of money,
Yeah.
and but they're not doing that because they're just like, eh. I mean, and I do think like what you're saying, even with our media, we're kind of treating it like I think the U.S. in general is just like,
Yeah.
eh,
Biden
like
been
we're
Biden been getting crushed
saying
though with how he's handled this. He's been getting crushed in the media with how his like
true,
people are like, he's been a little passive about it. Because
yeah,
America, we want the fist, we want that iron fist when it
right,
comes to war.
we do, but again, it's not a third world country, so
They low key are. They have a huge income inequality in Russia on the low. On the
I
low.
mean, Ukraine though is the Ukraine that way?
I don't know as much about about. I'm sure they are not the richest.
Right. And it's funny that the media has even been saying this, even though there's I think that's them trying to skate around saying blonde hair, blue eyes again. But
Yeah, yeah.
because I don't think of Ukraine as a wealthy country. Like I don't
Nah,
never
nah.
seen any pictures of prosperity in the Ukraine.
Mm-mm.
It looks like Detroit. Like what. Shout out to Detroit, friend of the pod.
Shout out to Detroit, my one of my favorite cities on the low.
Um but yeah, man. This was a good conversation.
Good talk. Good
I'm
talk.
I'm glad I'm glad you tapped into it.
Yeah, they need to have us on CNN. Let us drop the knowledge.
If they would take us off the
I'm
air
coming for Roland
immediately.
Martin's spot. I'm so sick of him under these IG models as pictures. I just keep seeing it. I keep seeing it, Roland. When are you gonna stop? When are you gonna stop, Roland? I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of Roland Martin under these IG models. Find something better to do.
I mean, the way you would stop seeing it is if you're not also on their models. But I
That's
messed
not
that
your
up.
business. That's
I'm
not
just
your
saying
business.
that's how
Or
you would
Roland
stop
Martin's
seeing it.
business for that matter.
That's how you would stop seeing it.
I'm just tired of seeing because I follow him, and when you follow people, you see what they like, and it's like Roland, get out of there.
I know you do, but you also see it when you're like on those models
Really, it's
pictures.
really one particular woman who I follow, who I'm probably not going to follow because I'm just not going to do it, not right now. And I always see Roland under Roland. I guess they friends, and I'm jealous of it because
Not
Roland be
right now.
commenting, and then she responds, "Oh, thanks, Roland," and I'm like, this little roly
He
poly nigga, get like I'm hating. I know I'm hating. I'm hating,
oh,
but whatever, whatever. We gotta go, man.
he
My blood pressure getting hot.
he sent her a cake for her birthday. So she feels
With
forever
a picture of
indebted
him
to
on
him.
it. He nasty. That's nasty work, Roland. If that's what you did, that's real nasty.
But the
Real
cake was from Costco.
friend of the podcast, Costco.
They're not about to be for long. as as soon as I see the light at the end of the tunnel,
Soon
I'm
as that
darting.
income tax come in, you out of there. No.
Oh no, not that. That ain't enough for me to leave. But oh, that reminds me, I do need to do my taxes. Dang,
I do too, actually. I
I
gotta get on
can't.
that.
I can't pull a MC Hammer. Ooh, I'm so glad this came up. I've been thinking about this, You've been sending me all these pictures about MC Hammer and all that, blah blah blah, whatever. I've heard some of these stories also, so I'm like familiar. I knew. I just I don't know if I
You
believe
brushed
it.
it off. You brushed it.
I don't know if I believe it.
You treating them like Russia right now. You treat MC Hammer
I
like
I
Russia.
don't know if I believe it.
Every
The
what more
the
sources do you need? Too
the
Short
re
came out and said something about it.
the
Redman
reason
was like, I don't want
the
no smoke with Hammer.
the reason I don't believe it is because I hear stuff like that. It's just like surface level. Like I've never heard any actual
You
stories.
wouldn't. It's street stuff. You would
I
never hear somebody
know.
come out and be like, Hammer did X, Y, and Z to
That's
me.
true. Like I'm not saying details, but it's just like you would hear a little bit more. Like even in stories like on the internet, like you would hear a little bit more. And there's just none of that. So I think what really happened is he wasn't doing tax evasion. He was like paying a publicist to put all this information of him out in the streets.
I gotta go. You about to get me pressed by Hammer. I like
He
going
was
to the Bay
putting
too.
all
The
of this
Bay is one of my
information out.
favorite cities.
That's
You
where
about to
that's
ruin my
where
San Francisco connection
that
right
is
now.
why that
I
is
was
why he
just in
ran out of
Hayward,
money.
California. I'm not gonna be able to
That
go
is
back
why he
now.
went bankrupt. Is because he was just putting all this press out into the streets. It's not real.
Hey Hammer, I still got love for you, baby. It's not me saying this, Hammer. All right, I
I
respect
got
you.
love for you.
I
I got love
respect
for
your
you
name
too,
in the
Hammer.
streets,
I
Hammer.
got love for you too,
I
Hammer.
don't want no
Too
smoke.
legit. Too
Man.
legit to
See,
quit.
you playing,
We
you
out here.
joking, you
We
playing
out here.
around. I like going to the Bay. I want to be able to go in peace still.
I'm just saying.
I ain't got nothing to do with this, Hammer. I don't co-sign none of this. I respect your reputation, baby.
Don't nobody who pressed too many people dance like that. That's all I'm saying.
See, you playing. You playing. You playing. You think it's a game. You think it's a game. Don't go to the Bay. You better just check that out. Just count that out as a potential destination, vacation spot for you. Because you know San Francisco is one of the most romantic cities, but Tasha will never find out because you can't go. You can't go there. So
She can she can still go by herself or with her
mm,
friends.
nah, it's not the same. See, you playing.
Nah, I'm gonna be there. I gotta see Steph play at home.
No, you're not gonna see nothing. You're not gonna make it out the airport.
Oh shoot. This is good time.
All right.
Hey. I mean I ain't going further than that. I thought about saying something else, but
No, see that's the
ju-
problem. You just keep
just in
want to
case
keep
the
pressing
fear.
the
Just in
issue.
case the fear, because it's like it could be like calling the Candyman and
He might
he
press you
gon'
in Detroit. He might pull up to you in Detroit. You keep playing.
I wish a nigga would.
Okay. All right.
Like Otis Freeman taught us.
I ain't got nothing to do with this. I ain't got nothing to do with this, Hammer. You see, baby,
All
Hammer
right.
out the. Man,
Yeah.
all right,
Thank y'all for joining us.
for
This is a good
sure.
time to
Hey,
wrap it
Hammer,
up.
I still got love for you, baby.
Hey,
All right,
MC
Hammer.
Hammer, friend of the podcast. Always welcome.
For sure. All right, we're out.